Got less than 30 seconds to start. It's a pretty light conditions out on the water. Very, very different to what we saw yesterday. Of course, Phoenix on top of the table. But we could see a series of different winners today. Perhaps it's quite light out there. We're looking at Preveza back on the water. Now, they've had a battle over the last 48 hours. They lost their forestay fitting. Interlodge crossed the line best. Maybe a little bit early. Let's see whether they go back. But good start from the Preveza team at the pin end of the line. Phoenix, the regatta leaders, just to their right, a little bit back on them. Gladiator and Quantum tacking off early, looking to the right side. Middle of the course, Allegra Platoon. And for sure, on this race course, it's always been a case of picking a side. Really, I think the exception being Quantum yesterday. We're a little bit more conservative, but went on to win the first race yesterday. So a good start from the Gladiator team. Tony Langley, owner-driver. A few changes on board for this season, although the tactician is still Olympic gold medalist and America's Cup sailor Paul Goodison. New navigator this year is Ian Moore. Ian, of course, won Super Series and the World Championship with Quantum in the past. Knows the Quantum team well, and of course they are teammates in effect. Quantum sails on the Gladiator this year. They start the day with team briefing with all three boats present, with Super Coach James Line providing all the information. So it's probably no surprise then that Quantum and Gladiator working the early right. It seem to be quite high angles on the right side. Interlodge certainly made the best start. They were bow forward on the fleet, really. And Phoenix then, regatta leaders with some clear work to do. They're 9th place. And there we go, interesting. Said Interlodge may well have been over the line. Now that's a long way to go back if indeed that's what they're doing. They may be doing turns, but it's not the kind of deficit you make up easily in this fleet. Platoon Quantum Gladiator, furthest right boats of the fleet at the moment. Phoenix have tacked with the Preveza out on the left. Look at the difference in angles being sailed. Although we are seeing a few boats turning back, looking at Platoon and Gladiator. Maybe we're looking at a general recall in the end. Could be an individual, but yeah, all the fleet coming back. So a little bit of a warm-up for everyone. A chance to get the feel off that upwind. I think it's possibly perhaps more that the breeze had shifted, but we'll get some information from the water hopefully, but for sure we'll go into a restart in fairly short order, I would hope. So we'll join us again in a few moments when we go back into the start sequence. So welcome back then after that unfortunate AP situation because the breeze had shifted, or the breeze was very different at the start line from the windward mark. We're having a second attempt to get first race of the day away here in Baiona. Breeze is 8 to 10 knots on the start line. We're still in the northerly sector. Does look like the breeze has built just a little bit. And we're just inside 1 minute. Well, Platoon and Phoenix at the left-hand side of the group. See how things are shaping up towards the committee boat end of the line. Allegra just tacking up to try and position themselves close to the committee boat end of the line. Bunch of boats to their right. Quantum quite nicely positioned off that group. Value and Gladiator appear to be a little bit closed out there at 30 seconds to go. Quantum shaping up quite nicely towards the committee boat end of the line. Remember, that's where they started in the previous start. Interlodge had the best start in the last time, but just being pushed up just now by Provezza. Provezza holding up Interlodge, pulling the bow down, pulling the pin, and just going in 5 seconds time. Platoon a little bit early for the line, but they're towards the left end, towards the pin end of the line. Gladiator coming in at the committee boat end of the line, along with Quantum. Value in there as well. So gun goes. Seems like Allegra over the start line, just pushed over, I think, in the final seconds. So Andy Soriano's team having to come back and recross. Good start from Platoon from Harmler Spreer, lying third overall at this regatta so far after 4 races. Made the best start at the pin end, or the left end of the group. Sled started quite nicely, and Phoenix just sandwiched between the two. Closer to Sled. Not sure that Platoon will affect them too much initially. Certainly a solid start from Platoon. Tied on points just now, on 12 points with Quantum Racing. Quantum going right just now. Gladiator made a good start in the end at the committee boat end of the line. One of the first to tack off to the right. Cross the line and tack. Credit meantime to the Provezza team getting their boat back in racing order. Lost a forestay fitting which failed on the first day of racing. Spent yesterday trying to effect a temporary repair. There's been a load of work from the Provezza shore team, a lot of support from the other teams round the dock here in Baiona. And Ergen Imre's team back on the water, lying 7th just now. So will we see a shake-up in the results today? Perhaps. They say it's very much lighter. Been a long wait to get racing. Just before 3 o'clock local time here in Baiona. Yesterday was nice and punctual. Today is going to be longer, and we've been waiting for the breeze not just to fill in, but to settle down. Quite a complicated race course. So between Gladiator and Vayu just now on the right side. So interesting then. all three boats we're seeing going out to that early right, all in the quantum camp as it were, all in the same briefing today, all the same weather information. Gladiator, Value, Quantum, the quantum group. So they all have a morning briefing with head coach, if you like, James Lyne. Morning briefing and afternoon or evening debrief. The debrief look at the numbers for the day. And one of the key things with this quantum program is the level and quantity of data they harvest over the course of the racing day. It's analysed and the performance, the real drill down into the deep data of the performance is analysed, and there's no hiding place in terms of whether the owner driver perhaps thinks he's done a little bit better than the data suggests. But it's for the likes of Value and Gladiator, then it's seen as a bit of a fast track to improve as most efficiently as possible, highlighting their weaknesses and where they can improve in terms of boat handling and boat speed. So it is Gladiator, Value, Sled just now. Sled in the middle of the race course at a solid, good start. Five and a 7 yesterday for the Sled. So do need to start putting some top three results on the board. Third in the first race, then 6, 5, 7. So they're lying sixth overall. Port and Starboard coming up with Quantum. Pretty close, but I think Quantum might just be able to get there and leave out the Sled. Looking very much like it. Indeed, Sled I think have tacked, forcing Quantum back. All the time, of course, in this fleet, no matter what, attack is expensive. So right side looking good for Tony Langley and the Gladiator team. Be good to see them get around this top mark in first, but fair bit to go up this first beat. But interesting to talk with Paul Goodison in the early part of the day when we had time. Sat down and had a nice long interview with Goody, and he was saying just as much as anything the look of joy, the big smiles on Tony's face yesterday in the big breeze is as much a reward as any kind of result. But how nice it would be to see the Gladiator come back with a top 3, top 4 score. Allegra working that other flank, left side, had to restart. Certainly seems to be a little lift on that right side. Certainly it does increase as you get up the course. On Starboard, according to the afterguard members that we have spoken to so far. Value seem to be quite nicely positioned, just to leeward and ahead of Gladiator. Gladiator better positioned. So Phoenix in fourth, the regatta leaders. Not so good early on this beat, but starting to impose themselves very slightly. Good speed upwind we've seen from them in most conditions. Certainly looking good for Gladiator just now, just below the starboard tatley line in a lifting breeze. Not quite so good for value, but I'm pretty sure they should be able to tack up if required without too many problems. Value, I think, lying fourth overall in the leaderboard, 2285. Phoenix tacking at the Portley line, or just about. Coming in from there, but it looks like quite a long way in. Watch them relative to Platoon, for example. Not sure that our geometry on the layout of the race course is just perfect on our tracker, but all the time Gladiator seeming to lift. Maybe Value's ley line slightly better in the lifting breeze. Now, of course, if you look at Phoenix and Sled coming in from that left side, they're in a very definite header, and that's expensive. Watch Phoenix relative to Privetza, see how that plays out. Also Platoon. But this could be Value then leading round the top mark. And who'd have thought? Anyway, all credit to the Thai team. Whitcraft family, 5 family members on board, but actually a very, very accomplished team in their own right. Have raced together for 7 years on TP52s, I believe. Have 4 or 5 good pros on board. So it's Value then leading round the top mark. Second Gladiator, third Interlodge. Ed Baird calling shots on the Interlodge. Quantum Racing in fourth. Privetza fifth. Platoon sixth. Sled seventh. It's going to be Phoenix going round in eighth. Now Phoenix have been down in this neck of the woods before. They've been low and managed to effect a comeback for a third on day one, but let's see whether they can manage that. So obviously the right hand breeze. Most teams electing to go for the early jibe down on port. The exception being the Value, which appears to have lost a little bit so far, but let's watch. Gladiator going very, very nicely at the moment, 11 knots. I think coming down into the breeze is not harming them at all. Going quick. Few crew changes on board the Gladiator. As I said, Paul Goodison retained as a tactician. We have Andrew Escort from Quantum Designer is doing main sheet. Simon Fry, who was with Provezza, is on board as the main headsail and kite trimmer. Very, very experienced 52 sailor is Stir Fry, going way, way back to the very beginning. Sailed with Patches originally in the early days. Then was with Azura for a number of years, then Provezza. Now with the British flagged Gladiator. So looking like a solid result, a sort of race so far for Quantum. They're 4 points behind the Phoenix. Phoenix at the moment 5 boats behind in 8th. So Phoenix need to make some places up. A little bit of an expensive choice for the Value then. Electing not to do the early jibe. It's costing them, and they're down in 6th. The Value, of course, of Nick Rogers, double Olympic silver medalist. We're just watching a video of Nick talking in 2009 before the 2012 games, and he was with the Provezza program. So he's a pretty experienced big boat sailor as well. So a good lead for the Gladiator now. Not too many opportunities down this run then. Been quite one-sided. along port. Then Gladiator now leading the short starboard into the leeward gate. Phoenix jibe early. Phoenix's biggest problem right now is that they have over 100 metres forward, around about 100 metres forward to sled. So no easy pickings then. Approaching the leeward gate then, Gladiator pretty solid. Still a good 65, 70 metres ahead of Interlodge. Going round the right hand mark, looking upwind. Now the value team will be ruining their decision really to a certain extent, lying fourth just now. Certainly lost 3/4 places, but Interlodge round in second. Value choosing to go to the left hand mark. Platoon going left hand mark, as are indeed our sled. Phoenix will come to the right hand mark, and then Allegra chasing from behind, unfortunately, over the start line. Gladiator just sailing the shifts a little bit as they can. See them digging out into Little Knock just now, which Interlodge have chosen to take. Quantum and Value close together. Still no breaks for the Phoenix in 8th. The sled in 4th just now. Way out on this left side, so remember they came round the left mark with Phoenix as well. I think probably again for Sled on that left side just now. It may just be temporary, but Preveza in 7th. Preveza have Santilanga sailing on board this regatta. Colle Parada moved into the position as runner, controller and strategist, working with Hamish Pepper. So overall, Quantum Racing pretty solid this race. Fairly conservative start and first beat strategy really falling into the normal Quantum playbook, just not pushing the risk too far, letting the team and the boat do the work. So it does seem that one of the things we are learning here in particular, that in this and away from the traffic, it seems to be relatively straightforward to extend. Once again, really want to be in that top 3. If you get into the traffic, making extra tacks and being forced through the lighter breeze, for example, is really quite costly. But for sure, Gladiator and Interlodge stretched ahead of Quantum. Still watching Platoon and Sled coming from the left. Platoon just a wee lefty, a little bit of a lift, climbing away very slightly from Preveza. Phoenix, unfortunately, very much middle of the course in the traffic, in kind of no man's land just now, maybe just having to take their medicine in this race. So we're on the second beat. This is race 5 of the ABANCA 52 Super Series, Baiona Sailing Week here in beautiful Galicia. We've enjoyed the morning of warm temperatures, taken time to enjoy the scenery and beautiful surroundings here at the Yacht Club Monterreal in Baiona. Very historic, proud yacht club where many world championships and the IOR level rating classes before, and the Spanish Match Cup. Challenged for the America's Cup 3 times. So hearts in the mouths of the Gladiator Shore team on the chase boat, I hear. Been a while since Gladiator last won a race, but they've put a huge amount of work in over the winter season. And from that perspective alone, everyone deserves a race win. But it's great advertisement for the glass. Once again, if you can get off the start line, get into the key position, get the right shift on the first upwind. On a race course like this, you've got every good chance of winning a race. And the very opposite is true. Champions, world champions and the circuit champions, sled, are down in 8th. They went out to that left side. A little bit of a duel with Phoenix just now. It's an expensive race for the Phoenix, expensive choice. Up the first beat and off the start line. They have some catching up to do to get to the Preveza, but Quantum 3rd. Phoenix 6th or 7th. So this would leave Quantum and Phoenix tied on the same points, I think. So Gladiator more than doubled their lead since the last round. Once again, our Geo Racing tracking showing us this gradual starboard tack lift coming up towards windward mark, a geographic or topographic shift. Also looking like a pretty good race for the Interlodge. Who are 5th overall going into this race. Their best score so far is a pair of 4ths. Ed Baird working his magic on board. I think the project manager, Chris Matthews, steering for the moment, but we're looking forward to seeing Austin and Gwen Fragaman, the owners, back at in Europe as soon as possible. So as the great Nicholas Zedstrom used to say so often, 52 Super Series racing is about avoiding the shockers, and unfortunately this is the shockers today for Phoenix and Sled. And the other side of the coin is good races for Gladiator, Interlodge and Value. Those Sled getting themselves up to 5th for the moment. They were pretty deep going up that beat, but seem to have got themselves back into it, according to our tracking. But I'm not convinced, because for sure Sled were behind Phoenix if you look at the tracking. But let's wait and see. But no mistaking a big lead for the Gladiator, who I can't remember, I can't put my finger on it exactly, but my source within the Gladiator team says the last time they won the 52 Super Series race was in 2018 in Zadar. So no matter what happens today, then Tony Langley and his longtime buddy Jeff Povey will enjoy their gin tonic after racing today twice as much as usual. A nice, steady, typical performance from the Quantum Racing in 3rd. Object lesson in risk management. And I have to say, I'm pretty sure also in the weather strategy from the Quantum camp, given that Gladiator, Quantum and Value all had the same strategy off the start line, both starts in fact, choosing the right. Remember, Gladiator and Interlodge were certainly Gladiator were the first to tack off at the committee vote end of the line, go right. And that really is what's translating just now to that big lead. And a tough one then for the Phoenix and for the Sled. Couple of little fun facts for you. Gladiator was previously Interlodge, and that Interlodge was previously Azura. And common to all top 3 boats, of course, is Ed Baird was tactician on Gladiator previously in 2017. Tactician now on Interlodge and previously on the Quantum. And for those of you who are long-term 52 Super Series fans, we're producing a series of 28-minute mini documentaries on the class, or on the Super Series, really designed to enhance our live stream offerings and promote our live stream offerings in particularly in Cascais at the Rolex TP52 World Championship next month. We'll have live streaming on 3 days, the final 3 days, and again in Barcelona at the end of the season in October. We'll have a full live stream action from the every mark, every start, every finish in Barcelona as well. And we are working to try and get more live images for you, more live coverage. Wind is 315 degrees, 11 knots just now as Gladiator approach the finish line. So looking like a pretty tough day for the Phoenix team. Just now battling for 9th, 8th or 7th with Allegra, Phoenix, or Allegra and Sled. Sandwich between the two. Adding injury to insult or whatever the expression is. Of course Allegra were over the start line, had to go back, so seems like every team has an equal right to be at the front of the fleet as the back of the fleet, given the circumstances. Once again, we're seeing a big win. Remember, in that first day, Phoenix were, I think it was over 700 metres clear. That really was a reflection on the shifty breeze and the opportunities that brings. Let's wait and see where the Phoenix end up. But at the meantime, it's going to be 15 points aggregate for Quantum Racing after this race. Platoon will go to 16 if things stay the same. Vayu will go to 22. Tied with Interlodge on 22 as well. It's all on really. Phoenix need to pass Allegra if they're to hold on to the regatta lead. So the red kite off the Gladiator, Tony Langley's British flagged team, streaking down through the finish line to take a very important win for the Gladiator then. As I say, we think it's the first win since 2018. And a big reward for the Gladiator shore team for all their hard work through the winter, and change to a few key crew positions, and change to Quantum Sails. Similarly, a little sail brand change for the Interlodge. Interlodge moving from Quantum to Doyle. And Interlodge getting second. So we said we might see some upsets in this race in the light conditions, and we have in two different respects, with the Gladiator winning. A little battle going on for fourth and fifth, worth keeping an eye on. But Quantum Racing coming through in third the next few seconds. So 15-point aggregate for the Quantum Racing. Platoon go to 16 if they get through ahead of Value, which they should. They will have one jibe. Value just appear to be slightly slower. Oh. Pretty close, but Platoon get that fourth place. Platoon going 5-1-2-4-4 to hold on to third place. Value through in fifth, which I think will keep them in fourth place overall probably. Provetza get sixth. So one thing, obviously, Provetza missing 3 races in a row. Now that obviously affects their score, but stating the obvious, they've not had the same amount of racing at this regatta. So a 6th for them, and their comeback after their gear failure is a reasonable reward. And Phoenix coming through in 8th. So Quantum Racing take the regatta lead by a single point. Now they're in 15 points. Phoenix on 16 and Platoon also on 16. Then a gap of 6 points back to Value and Interlodge. That's our very, very provisional results for the moment. Join us again, I think, in a few minutes. Hopefully when we go into the second race of the day, race 6 of the ABANCA 52 Super Series Baiona Sailing Week. There's a quick look at the standings on the screen in a few seconds. Quantum Racing then 15, Phoenix 16, Platoon 16, Interlodge 22, Value 22, Sled 28, Gladiator move up to 7th, 31, Allegra 34, and Provetza 44. So that's the standings after 5 races, going into race 6 very shortly, I hope. Join us then. So welcome back. Less than 1 minute to the start of the second race of the day, race 6 of the series here in Baiona, ABANCA 52 Super Series Baiona Sailing Week. First regatta of 2022. Not such a good race for the champion sled, who've now posted 2 sevenths in a row and a big win for the Gladiator team. First, we believe, since 2017, and we are in the final seconds before the start. A real cluster of boats at the committee boat end of the line. Remember that Gladiator got away from the right end of the line, and this time it looks like they're closed out at the committee boat, having to circle back. So really no chance of a double repeat for the Gladiator team. Closed out by Interlodge, who were second. Interlodge tacking off to the right this time. Privetza nicely positioned also, but let's see how this plays, because Quantum have gone off the left side of the group from the pin end of the line with Vayu and Allegra. Allegra better start than the last one. Remember, they were over and really were on the back foot since then. Phoenix more conservative in their choices, starting off the middle of the line. Tacking on to port relatively early. So that was always going to be a tough start with this perceived favour up the right side of the course. Perhaps Maria not quite setting enough port end bias, but clearly a little bit there, because that was Quantum's choice. Quantum third in that race, behind Interlodge and Gladiator. So breeze slightly stronger than at the previous start. We have around about 11 or 12 knots on the start line, so a little bit of a build during the course of the afternoon. It's 4:15 local time here in Galicia. Good start from the platoon this time. Pair of fourths for them. Last race yesterday, first race today. Tied on points with the Phoenix. Privetza more in the mix this time off the start line. The real drag race on port tack just now. Interlodge getting a little bit of a header by the looks of things and leading. So the early leaders with Interlodge. Quantum in 7th out on that left side. Interlodge doing best to repeat what they did in the previous race when they were second all the way round to Gladiator, getting away from the right end of the line. Committee boat end, tacking early. Privetza, I think, were 1 or 2 boats down from the committee boat end and are presently second. Phoenix very much in the mix this time. Say more conservative off the start line on this drag race on port tack upwind. First leg of race 6. Value not such a great start and making early left of the course. Just watching Interlodge, seemed to be slightly lower, maybe coming into the starboard tack lift. Platoon tied on points with the Phoenix. Fourth and third on the leaderboard this early in race number 6. No shortage of talent on board the Interlodge. Pedro Mas on the bow. Michael Menninger, the young American strategist. He is with the American Magic team now, just been joined, I think, this year. Ed Baird on tactics. Juan Villa, navigator. Dave Armitage, the upwind trimmer. John O'Swain, downwind. And I'm pretty sure that though he's not on the crew list, Tom Burnham is on board. I think he was due to be coaching, but not sure. But anyway, Tom is clearly on board. Chris Brittle, powerhouse grinder. Rod Dawson's moved forward to main sheet. And our understanding is that the Chris Matthews, who's normally in the pit, is steering the boat. And my guess is that Tom Burnham would move into pit as his normal position. Provetsi would have to say it in a fairly solid second for the meantime. Interlodge out with an early lead of almost 90 metres. Few new names on the Provetsa as well. Willie Beavis coming in as floater. And Mariano, to give him his Sunday name, Colle Parada is doing backstay and strategy. Skip Baxter in his main sheet trimmer. The two principal trimmers are Daniel Fong and Juan Messiga. So it'd be good reward for them if they could hold on to the second, as they've had a pretty tough 40 hours with the boat on the dock trying to get their forestay fixed. Breeze round about 11 knots. So the other key change just now on the Privetz at the moment is Santi Lange is on board as a kind of floater additional strategist. Platoon in third. Have a few crew changes as well this season, principally Andy Axelson coming in to complement Gerd Habermüller, powerhouse German grinder. Andy Axelson also on as a grinder. And a change, I think they came in last year, Italian Jaro Forlani in the pit on platoon. But at the heart of the machine, as it were, on the platoon, John Kostecki, tactician, works so closely with main sheet trimmer in many different projects. Cheese, Dirk de Ridder, and Roscoe Halcrow, trimmer. Three of them have sailed thousands of miles together. And indeed, as Cheese was reminding us the other day, they were here way back in the days of the Ilbrook Volvo program with Terry. In fact, Terry Hutchison it was. In fact, he was reminding us that they all sailed on the Ilbrook and they trained out of Vigo. Going on to win the ocean race with Ilbrook. And Michael Ilbrook then going forward and doing a TP52 in the very early days of the class. However, Privetz are just losing out slightly as they come into the traffic, and the breeze shifting around a little bit. Privetz are coming out to that left side, losing behind Quantum. A certain amount of these changes you have to watch are due to the big lefty by the looks of things coming through. Top of the course, favouring Quantum in particular. Remember we saw that the other day. Big righty, big lefty. That kind of day, I think. So Interlodge struggling with the change in the breeze in the meantime. So that was what I remember in the very first race of the day. There was a big difference between the wind angle at the windward mark and at the start line. We seem to be seeing that happening just now. And Allegra seemed to have come out of that quite nicely. But none quite as well as Quantum and Platoon, to be fair. So a little bit of a reshuffle then, just as we were expecting Interlodge to be comfortably ahead round this top mark, first time up, second race of the day. Everything changes, and it's looking like Quantum, now the regatta leaders, went left early. Also gain for Value up to fifth just now. So looking down the course from the windward mark, Quantum, Platoon and Allegre. Quantum just ahead. So Quantum round the top mark in the lead. Allegre second. Sled round fourth. Fifth Interlodge, so Interlodge losing 5 places on these shifts. And Provezza. Phoenix. Value, and in ninth round the top mark. Unfortunately it's going to be Gladiator. No way back into this fleet for them, unfortunately, after being closed out at the committee boat end of the line. So Quantum racing a lead round the top mark first. Everybody going for an early jibe. Sled looking like they're having to take penalty. Which will be to Interlodge's advantage, and indeed to Phoenix's advantage. So Phoenix get through Sled because of that penalty turn. But really looking at things once again, the top three clear of the fourth place boat, though Interlodge appear to be coming down that right side with some speed. Chased by the Phoenix. And in many respects, you really feel that this fleet are only just warming up for the season. Obviously, they had that, many of the boats, 5 boats, had that training session in Valencia in March. But that was generally in quite strong breezes. But you know, the likes of Provezza just starting, I think, to really start to find their marks and gel as a team in the new kind of format, new lineup, as it were. I know it seems to be the most often used cliche with the 52 Super Series at the moment, but it does seem like any team which gets a good start can go on to win, and that's a reflection on the high level of crew work all the way through the fleet. There's no slow boats, and all the teams are very, very even, as long as you don't make mistakes. And after that, interesting, it's one of these days then, isn't it? That's how it's shaping up, where last will be first and first will be last, in the sense that Gladiator won the previous race and are 8th or ninth just now, depending on how things pan out. Allegri were ninth and leading this race. Most consistent though, really. Quantum third in the previous race, second just now. But it's a battle between Quantum and Allegri. Nothing in it coming down this first run. Quantum a slightly better angle towards the leeward gate just now. Allegri coming across, I think, to jibe inside and protect as best they can, maybe. Quantum just crossing in front. Interlodge going well though. 5th at the top mark. I say they benefited from that penalty for Sled. Platoon not so good. Platoon 3rd at the top mark, now 5th. Phoenix chipping away in 7th / 8th. Looking like a pretty tough day for the Phoenix after a pretty glamorous start. 1-3-3-1 and 8th in the previous race. Could be another 8th for them. Again, not wishing to roll out the cliches, but there's no easy passes in this fleet now. Not in these conditions, not on this race course. But all in all, you have to take your hat off to the value team. Not only did they make such a good start to the regatta with these 2 seconds, but they've been consistent. They've had 2 fifths in a row. Certainly proving once they get into the fleet they can stay competitive. But for sure, I think the Phoenix team have some questions to ask themselves after today. Maybe their strengths tend to be in the uprange breeze, but remember their first big win here, race 1, was in this kind of wind strength. It was only 7 to 9 knots. But then the same could be said for sled, which have gone 7-7. It's always all about consistency in the Super Series. So Quantum, Allegri, Platoon 1, 2 and 4 all lined up. Same line coming down this run. Interlodge out to the right. Presently third. Wonder whether they can get back in with speed from that right side looking downwind. But all in all, this looking like a pretty good day for the Quantum. Top boat yesterday with a 1 and a 2. Looking like they'll be top boat today with a 3 and a 1. And as it stands, stepping a little bit further clear from Phoenix for sure and Platoon. I reckon Platoon going to be finishing up in second place after today. 2 days of racing still to go. We're still expecting light breezes for Friday and Saturday. And now Quantum Racing then very much in the box seat. Unless I'm not wrong, I'm pretty sure they won the World Championship the last time that we raced a Rolex TP52 World Championship in the big breezes in Cascais. But pretty clear leaders relative to Allegri and Platoon just now. Just thinking, it's Quantum through the leeward gate with Allegri second. The Platoon will be third. Provezza appear to have got through Interlodge. Value in the mix in 4th or 5th. Looking like quite a tight rounding for this next group after the platoon. So Quantum, Allegri, Platoon, Provetza, I think, getting around in 4th, Phoenix 5th. Good work from the Phoenix team then. Value 6th, 5th, whatever, something in that very, very tight pack. Now Interlodge, I think losing 2 or 3 boats around that turn. Sled electing to go right hand mark looking upwind. That looks like it could be quite a smart choice, even though you're not getting the best angle coming out of the mark. There's a lot of traffic, a lot going on in that left hand mark. So Quantum Racing strengthening their hand at the moment with this lead of over 200 metres over Platoon. Allegra in third. Phoenix a little bit up and down, but it's very, very close between fifth and indeed seventh or eighth. See around the top mark, we'll get a better indication of exactly how things are playing out in the middle of the fleet. But I was just looking back just now, and it's 2019 since Quantum Racing last won a regatta. Winners in Cascais. Then a breezy regatta that was in 2019. That wasn't the Rolex TP2 Worlds I was talking about, but they did win the Worlds when they were last sailed in Cascais. Yeah, that was 2018, which is breezy Rolex Worlds in Cascais. Quantum Racing won against Azura. Allegra were third that year. Sled fourth. That was a July regatta that I remember, and it was breezy, breezy, breezy that year, as it was last time we raced there in 2019 when Quantum won. So Slide having a better race just now in fourth. Interlodge were going well in this race until that top mark really. But credit to Sled getting up to fourth after that penalty at the top mark first time up. Had to take the penalty just at the offset mark. Platoon and Allegra splitting tacks. Allegra going back to the right. So on the second beat, race 6 of 10 planned races. We're up to schedule. Not something we could say too often last season. Not only was last season quite short in terms of the number of regattas, we only did 3 regattas, but certainly 2 of them from memory, we only sailed 5 or 6 races. Platoon just keeping Allegra in check in front of them. Next duel is between Sled and Provezza. Sled well clear actually of Provezza. I think they'll just do the same though. We'll sail another 40 metres, 50 metres, and I think probably tack back on the Provezza. Maybe not. I think perhaps just a little right-hander, maybe just electing to take the lift in that phase of wind pressure just now. Phoenix behind Value. Nothing in it though according to our tracking. Interesting, I suppose, to reflect to say we talked many times about owner drivers and pro drivers, and at the moment we've got this situation in the fleet where a couple of owners are not here, so you've got the likes of Tony Norris steering the Tony Norris steering the Phoenix, and on the Interlodge I believe Chris Matthews steering. I mean, these guys are accomplished helmsmen in their own right, very competent, but they're not Olympic sailors. You know, when you compare their level, for example, to on board Value, where young Don Whitcraft is helming, they're all probably of an even level. Don and his brother have done an Olympic program for Thailand in the 49er. So what I'm saying is they're probably all of a fairly even level in terms of helming ability. They can sail the boat fast. For sure, we were talking to Tom Slingsby about Tony Norris's helming. He says very accomplished, but the key thing for him is he listens, he responds, he reacts. He's got a good feel for the boat. Anyway, Quantum Racing with Doug DeVos, the owner driver. Leading by a significant distance now round the top mark. They'll be at the offset and have the kite up before Platoon come round. So as ever, it's a good advert for the class in terms of owner drivers. Doug DeVos steering the Quantum, Platoon Harmler Spreer steering the Platoon, Allegre, Andy Soriano steering the Allegre, and Takashi Okura, Mr. Okura, steering the Sled, and an Olympic bronze medalist John Cutler, I think, steering Provezza. Provezza round in fifth then. Phoenix through value in the end, but I think Phoenix too far behind now to catch anyone in front of them. So what a funny old kind of day, really, in a lot of respects. As we said, Gladiator then first in race 5, presently lying in 8th from 9 in the second race. Interlodge second in the first race and 9th just now. Stars of the day, really, though. Quantum third and first and second yesterday. Quantum 4 times winners of the 52 Super Series in the 10-year history. So too, I think, are Azura. The only other team to have won a series title is of course Sled last year, not counting 2020 when we only had the one regatta in Cape Town, South Africa, which was won by Azura. So that tells its own story, doesn't it, really, in terms of the phase of the breeze, if you like. You have 8 of 9 boats, or in fact 9 of 9 boats, all in the same jibe on port, running downwind towards the finish line, where, all things being equal, Quantum should win the second race and extend their lead at the top of the table here at the ABANCA 52 Super Series Baiona Sailing Week here in Galicia. 2 days of racing still to go. We're expecting them to continue to be light. I think yesterday will probably prove to have been the breeziest race of the series. So on the strength of this race, you'd imagine that second and third places on the overall table should be traded. That's to say, Platoon, you'd imagine, will move up to second. They're pushing Quantum quite hard. I would have Quantum on 16 points after this, Platoon on 18, and then the Phoenix on 22. Value staying in there in fourth on 29, Interlodge on 31 and Sled on 32. So that's very approximately how things would stand if positions stay the same through the finish line. Not looking like a whole lot of different options coming down here. Very much going to follow my leader. A nice big lead for the Quantum then. This will be their second race win. 4-5-1-2-3-1 over the 6 races. Terry Hutchison, a big fan of the average points over the regatta. At the moment, their average is 2.73 points per race, and that's usually good enough to win a regatta in this fleet. However, tomorrow's another day, and indeed so Saturday. We've seen how hard it's to get back through the fleet if you get on the wrong side of that first shift, or indeed the second shift, as was the case in this race. Remember, Quantum looked to be on the wrong side of the first shift, but came back in from the left. Interlodge were the early leaders. Remember how it started off. Interlodge started on the committee boat, tacked early out to the right. Gladiator were closed out of the committee boat. Quantum Racing were left on that upwind, and it was really on the top of the upwind where the breeze shifted left or moved left, and that was Quantum's cue to take the lead. Top mark Quantum Allegre Platoon, Leeward Gate Quantum Allegre Platoon. Sled made that gain on the second beat. Remember, Sled had their penalty at the top mark first time up. That cost them 2 or 3 places. Got themselves back into fourth just now. Certainly quite an illuminating and interesting day of racing. Keep saying there's no bad teams out there. There's no teams which don't have the tools in the toolbox, don't have the personnel, don't have the speed to win races. And it's super easy to end up towards the back of the fleet, as we're seeing with Phoenix just now. Phoenix's day is going to be a pair of 8s. And they were the regatta leaders on day one. And Quantum came back yesterday to strengthen their charge. Allegri, kind of up and down day, as I said, a 9th and a 3rd. Interlodge, a 2nd and a 9th. Gladiator, a 1st and an 8th. Quantum then set up their ley line towards the finish. Navigator Italian Michele Avaldi, real cultural melting pot, if you like, at the back of the quantum racing. We've got American Terry Hutchinson, Italian navigator Michele Avaldi, and Argentinian strategist, Olympic bronze medalist Lucas Calabrese, who joined the team last year. So Quantum Racing then winning their 2nd race of the regatta. Moving clear at the top of the table by 2 points from the platoon. Who will come through the finish line in the next few seconds? Harmmuller Sprayer's team. Nice and consistent. 4 and a 2, 6 points for the day from them. So platoon will be 2 points behind rivals Quantum Racing. Sled then to Kashiakura's team coming through in 4th. I think they will stay 1 point behind Interlodge on the standings. Nothing too much changing in the middle of the table just now. I think Phoenix going to get this 6th place. 8th and a 6th then for Phoenix for the day, 14 points. Much more than they've scored over the previous 4 races, when their tally was 8 points from 4 races. Now 14 points from 2 races. So it's value through the finish line. I think they'll hold their 4th on the table. 31 points to Sled's 32. Still pretty good going then for the Thailand team in the top half of the fleet. Gladiator then through in 8th, and Interlodge disappointing 9th for the American team from the New York Yacht Club in Rhode Island. Through the line in 9th. So an interesting day of racing. All credit to the Quantum Racing team. 3rd and a 1st today, moving 2 points clear of platoon. Phoenix disappointing 8th and 6th, lie 3rd, but they're 7 points clear of the value. Value pretty creditable day all in all, 5th and 7th, and 29 points. Interlodge 31, Sled 32, 37 from Allegra, A 1 and an 8 for Gladiator today, and 39 points for 8th. And Privet's a 6 and a 5th for the day, considering their problems over the last 48 hours, and that's not too bad a way to come back. So that's our racing day here in Baiona. Join us again tomorrow. 2 races, hopefully, 2 races Saturday. Who's going to win the first 52 Super Series event of the season? Join us over the next couple of days. Let's follow the action.